Hello, welcome everybody. This webinar is organized by Pune River Revival, which is PRR, and we mainly work with all the things related to rivers in Pune. We mainly work for rights of rivers, and we want rivers to be clean, flowing, natural, with rich biodiversity, lots of birds and lots of fish. Just exactly 1 month back, that is on 25th of August, we had a silent march for Pune's rivers. And we also had a symbolic Raksha Bandhan, and we took a pledge to protect our rivers. So along with such other activities, we also conduct these webinars every Wednesday so that we can reach out to many people and let know them about environment, rivers, and water. So today we are mainly going to focus on the water part of it, and we are going to listen to an interesting case study. We have Priti Mastakar with us. So Priti has done her PhD in economics with economic, financial, and environmental modeling from Gokhale Institute in Pune. She also has teaching and research experience in Cambridge University, Pune University, Gokhale Institute, Symbiosis, and she has been a consultant and researcher to local governments and many corporate companies for sustainability, carbon accounting, biodiversity, climate change, waste management. So this is her formal introduction, and I think I will hand over to Ketki for a little bit of informal introduction where she can let us know more about Preeti, and then Preeti, you could start your presentation.
Yeah, so this is just to introduce Preeti little informally that all of us come from the same school of thoughts. She's also Ecological Society alumni. And yeah, so the kind of projects that she worked on are quite exciting. Means right now you're going to hear her on Mahabaleshwar case study, but also recently she completed very interesting projects on our Pune hills about the valuation. And Preeti, we're really looking forward to your results, and maybe we can have another session by you. Whatever findings that
yes, once that is done.
yeah, really looking to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so looking forward to hear you today.
Yeah, Ketki, you and
so
I think 17 years now. Yeah, 2007 we met.
17 years.
And I used to be wide-eyed about Ketki's and Mansi's work at that time because they started quite early with Kore sir. It was awesome. It's been an awesome journey. It's a different community. Yeah.
Yeah. The different energy I feel always with Ecological Society alumni. It's with some
a different way we think. It's a different way we connect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for making.
Yeah. Thanks. She actually she facilitated. KK facilitated. And thanks, Prajakta. Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah. Thanks. Hi all. I think Shailaja has done some wonderful work, and everybody out here, I know whoever is here has done wonderful work in this area. What came to me in this project, and I will first share my presentation, was very unique. So is everybody able to see my slide?
Yes.
So this was a very unique project that came to us. And when it did come, we were not aware if it was zoonotic or any of what the whole problem was. It just came as a project from the collector's office in Mahabaleshwar to the Tehsildar's office. And we are talking about 23 March, April, the project came to us and we picked it up in May. And I had just finished teaching. I had just finished teaching environmental economics to our master's PG students in Gokhale Institute. So when it came in, I always have thought that it's one important thing is as a teacher is always to give something as a guru to the guru shishya parampara that way to give something to the students. So when the project came and students were interested, I picked up around 4-5 students and we went to see what this whole problem was in Mahabaleshwar. And when we landed there again, we didn't know what it was, but it comes about to be zoonotic. Now, zoonotic origin, diseases of zoonotic origin are not very uncommon. I'm sure all of you all are aware. I mean, you all are aware of what COVID has done, various viruses through monkey, all that is happening all around us. You have the mosquitoes also zoonotic origin, or the dengue and chikungunya and everything. So that is quite a majority, around 60%. If you go to the literature review, I'll show you, around 60% of known infections in humans come from animals, and 75% of new emerging diseases in human originate from animals. Yeah. So this is the status. So we are in an area which is not uncommon. However, we know little about it. That is, and especially the case that we took up, we know very, very little about. The whole case started in Mahabaleshwar, Tehsildar office and collector's office. And we know that the way these two, Mahabaleshwar and Panchgani, are situated close to each other, with a population in thousands. You have 13,405 population, and you have in Mahabaleshwar. However, the tourists are quite a few, yeah, in Mahabaleshwar. So if something comes up, if there is some hazard that comes up, it is not only the local population that is exposed to it, but also the floating population of the tourists that is involved. Pristine as it is, you see Mahabaleshwar and you see Panchgani over there, pristine as it is, you wouldn't, one doesn't even doubt, or it doesn't come to our mind when we look at such beautiful places that there's some underlying situation, which needs to be addressed. My flow will be, the flow of presentation will be introduction, literature review, methodology, findings and results, and solutions and conclusion. We are in an area of public health risk management, which in environmental economics, we have for each and every part of economics, environment, we have a certain methodology. And it's been proven over, I must say, I can't say centuries, but many decades. So when you apply the methodology, you are sure to come to the origin of the problem and find the solution. This comes under public health risk management. It also comes under contamination of drinking water at source, which is one of the highest risk band for human health. Yeah, and the sources of this contamination are the clubbing of human activity and the drinking water source, and a minor amount of sewage water discharge and host-related activities around the water. If you look at Mahabaleshwar, this is Venna Lake. Are you all able to see this? I wonder. This is Venna Lake, yeah. And you have this as the source of water, not only in the entire Mahabaleshwar, but it goes down to Panchgani. So now, if this is your drinking water source, and if something happens over here, not only Mahabaleshwar, but even Panchgani faces the risk of the contaminated water. What happens over here is, from Venna Lake, water goes to Panchgani, a water treatment plant. From Venna Lake, it also comes to Wilson Point here. If you can see my arrow, it is pumped up. Wilson Point is the second highest point in the after Kalsubai. And the water is pumped up here. It is treated and then it is dispersed to the entire Mahabaleshwar. This is the white, as you can see, is the commercial area, and then the rest of the area, you've got villages around and all sorts of things. Yeah. So if there is contamination, you will have both Panchgani and Mahabaleshwar facing the risk. Purpose of the study was to find out why there was a recent spate in the diseases, and to assess what the health risk was, whether it had zoonotic origin came out later on actually, and to develop a strategy to mitigate the risk. Zoonotic diseases are, as I said, 60% is the coverage, the origin. They come in various forms. You have the E. coli, you have got the Salmonella virus, you've got the Rotavirus, you've got all of these things that are indicated over here. And they come from various sources, like it could be flies, it could be ticks, it could be mosquitoes, it could be dogs, cats, monkeys, but also horses. Now, when we looked at the literature review, we hardly found any literature review on the passing of diseases between horses and humans. So this was a relatively less researched area. And the story will come out how we thought it was, or we came to know that it was equine in origin. So we have a certain methodology that we follow, and it has got a ranking of the risk. And you will find over here, contamination of drinking water comes in the high risk to human health. We heard of oil spills. You've heard of the Gulf oil spills, all of these big oil spills that have happened, and Exxon oil spills. And you think, oh my God, this is going to really ruin the ecology and all that. But when you look at human health and you look at the risk, you see that contamination of drinking water, ambient air pollutants, which we are having in Pune, worker exposure to chemicals, indoor pollution, these are the more in the higher risk band or the highest risk band. There is a methodology we use. The phase one is the problem formulation and the scoping of the problem. After we've done that, then we do the assessment of the risk. The risk, we look at it quantitatively. So you will see that part also in our methodology here. And you'll also see a qualitative evaluation until we finally come to the number of people who are being exposed. That involves hazard identification. That is, where is the risk coming from? What is the hazard? Yeah. Then after the hazard, you've identified the hazard. Okay, you found out the COVID virus. If it has had no effect on humans, no problem, right? But when it has had a small effect, you are starting to see what is called the dose response. So you will see that when Lake water or any of the water is initially contaminated, you will not see the effect on the population, yeah, because it's a smaller dose. But as the dose increases, then you start seeing the response in the humans and also the animals. I mean, there is a case I'm talking about 1970s of Udaipur, the Udaipur Lake, and a river that goes into the lake. And the animals were not touching the water there. The animals were not drinking the water from there. Yeah. So that is the amount of hazard that water has created, that it immediately has an effect. So the dose response is very important, because if the dose is small, you needn't worry if it does not have a response. But when the response starts increasing, which is what we see in this case study, then that is to be assessed. Exposure has to be assessed. How many people are exposed to it? Risk characterization, and then you do the risk management by formulating policy responses to the risk. So what we first did was, we know there are spate of diseases. So we first went to the sanitation department to look at their water records and other records, of course, all the other records. Sanitation department usually has a doctor, a medical doctor, not here though, in Mahabaleshwar, and they keep all the records of all the diseases that are on. Now, what was quite unique was that the water, we asked for the water records of the last 5 years, and all the records showed very clean water. So this just put us off track a bit, because then we knew that there was nothing to do with the water, because water was clean of E. coli. We have what is called 10500. It's a standard, Indian standard, which has been set by the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, in unison with the World Health Organization and UN. And this stipulates that the water has to have 0 E. coli and 0 coliform. when I tested the water in my tap, corporation water in my tap, 0 E. coli, 0 coliforms, fit to drink. It's a very high standard that we have in India. Yeah. So this was showing very clean records in Mahabaleshwar. Yeah. So that was the beginning point. However, first we had to, what are the diseases? So we went and checked out the hospital and clinic records. We found that the cases were mainly of diarrhea, gastroenteritis, rotavirus, ARI is acute respiratory infections, and fungal infections. Now, rotavirus, gastro, diarrhea, and I will go into details of how we met all the doctors and they all indicated that these are waterborne, especially diarrhea and gastro. So, diarrhea, gastro, we had a few typhoid diseases. There was dysentery, vomiting, stomach pain. All this indicated to something that was waterborne. E. coli would be one source. E. coli. Then you could have also Salmonella. Yeah. So we then knew that it was waterborne. So how was the department showing us 0 E. coli and 0 coliforms? So we knew there was a bias. So what we did was we did our own water testing. We picked up water from the drinking water source, which is Venna Lake, from all the commercial areas, from all the residential areas, from the schools, and also the groundwater. Yeah, there are many wells there, so we were able to take the groundwater, and we had this all checked out. And then we did the formulation of the risk mitigation and the strategies. So findings and results over here. We knew the hazard exposure, large number of visitors, so local and foreign population, high health risk, and from the water, from the drinking water testing, we found that there was also presence of fecal coliform and E. coli in drinking water, and the bacteria and viruses in the water bottle. So let me take you to so this is from the pediatric clinics. There was not one clinic that we left. So all the clinics in Panchgani, all, whether pediatric or not, and all the hospitals. So this was all the data from the pediatric clinics. And you can see that gastritis, yes, in children, diarrhea, yes, in children, dysentery, yes, frequency of such cases, 30 in April, May, seasonal morbidity. Morbidity meaning, now here we found that the children not only had to be, when they were brought in, they had to be admitted into hospital with fever, vomiting, dehydration, and they had to be put on saline and kept in the hospital, and it took 2-3 days to recover. Now, rotavirus, how did we find this one out? So we found out that there's rotavirus because there is complete vaccination of all children in Pajgani and Mahabaleshwar. They are vaccinated against rotavirus. So we knew that there was a presence of rotavirus. Now, we then came to what is a source that will give gastritis, diarrhea, dysentery, rotavirus. There were skin diseases like fungal diseases. There was ringworm. These were all the ARI, acute respiratory infections. All these were there. Yeah. You can see over here, this is the rural hospital. This is the government hospital in Mahabaleshwar. You can see now we did 3 years record, 19, 20, 21, 22. Though it was not so initially, 1920s, you saw a sudden spate in 2022. It increased in 21 and it increased in 22. Also, in May or April, it was lesser. In May, it would increase. But in June, when there was rain, the number of diseases would increase quite a lot. Yeah. So what we did was we did water samples in May, where we went, and we followed up with June and July. Now, this was data from all the hospitals and clinics, and as you can see over here, You have not in now the adults, you can see the frequency of cases in diarrhea and all that. And what we did ask all the doctors was, do you think this is zoonotic in origin? Yeah. So that is something only one doctor, her, Alka Thoke. She was the one to give us an indication that yes, it is zoonotic in origin. Yeah. Now, our students were, our research students were also doing the literature review, and that is how we found out that all these you will find in equine. They are of equine origin, or rather in equine waste. Yeah. So that is, yeah, gastroenteritis. You can see the numbers having the morbidity is also high. This is the acute, now acute respiratory infections. Now let us come to horses, for example. Now, one is their waste. The waste of equine waste contains Salmonella. It contains E. coli. It contains Rotavirus. It contains Enterovirus. And once the waste is dry, it rises into the air and causes acute respiratory infections. Yeah. So this was also high in Mahabaleshwar. So this is how we found out that the disease looks like it is from the horses' equine waste. Okay. Then when you look at the water, so these are the water samples we found, the coliform. Now this is from Venna Lake. From Venna Lake, the coliform bacteria was present, E. coli was present, which goes against our standard, water standard. We then went to the Wilson Point water purification plant. And look at this. This is the source of water at Venna Lake, but look at what is happening at the purification plant. At purification plant, it is very high. The coliform bacteria is above the limit, and E. coli is also present. Yeah, this was as of 21 May, and in 28 on the 18th of June, this was even higher after the rains. Then this Glen Ogle Dam is the monsoon source of water. At the moment, they are using Glen Ogle Dam for their source of water. This one actually, because we were always accompanied by the MJ plant, the water people from Mahabaleshwar, and they said, oh, this is very good water. And we even drank the water. We ingested the water. One of my research assistants, he and I, we drank the water, and we both had a problem, but we didn't know why. And that was because both of them, coliform bacteria and E. coli was present at Glen Ogle Dam also. And this is from Ranjanwadi, from Devi Chowk, Ganesh Nagar Society, Gavri Mohalla School, all of them had coliform bacteria and E. coli. And this is Panchgani. Now, Panchgani is slightly better because the one is the water treatment plant. As soon as we told them that they had a contamination, they figured out what was the problem and they fixed it. And the horses are away from the city, from the hill station. They are on a pathar, on a plateau above Panchgani. So there is no mixing of waste there. Whatever source is there comes from Mahabaleshwar. But they fixed it very fast, yeah. And if you look at these are the hotels, Purohit Hotel, Raj Bhavan. Raj Bhavan is the governor's house that also was showing coliform. This is out of RO water. Yeah, we are looking at RO water. So when you look at RO water, also do not think it is 100% fine. I will tell you another case how we found out that it doesn't work 100%. Now this is groundwater. Groundwater also was contaminated. There was presence of both coliform bacteria and E. coli. So what was the problem in Mahabaleshwar? The problem was that you had horses right next to the water. So when the waste was not being collected over here, and with rain, the waste was entering the waters. Hence, more contamination after the rains. And they also had fungal infections. This is the waste that you could see. They had also fungal infections over here. Yeah. We also sat with them because horse owners have put investment in their horses. So we cannot ruin their incomes. So we had to look at strategies to help them to. At the same time, So the problem was also, of course, the horses, tourism activities around drinking water, which was called, there were around 150 to 170 horses parked there, and all of them were giving, the waste was lying out there, it was going into the water, and hence the contaminated drinking water. It has all of these, it has all, as I said, it has all of these problems. E. coli, Salmonella, Rotavirus, Rotavirus. So then we assess the risk. The risk to the population with 13405 was 0.0585, which is okay. I mean, every 5 out of 100 people would be affected. But when you look at the risk for, this is a monthly, if you look at the annual risk, it goes to 0.70, which is around 70 people per 100, which is a very high actual risk for the people affected with all these cases. The crucial point was that the Wilson Point water purification plant itself had contaminated water. That horse excreta has all of these contaminants, and that there was a bleaching agent that was being used to decontaminate water at the plant, which was not working. And we also know, to quote from literature review, diarrhea is a frequently encountered medical problem of newborn goats. Yeah, I also work on another equestrian farm, so this was very known. Rotavirus is the most common, and foals actually die because they have this rotavirus. Yeah, that is what is found around the world, breeding centers around the world. Yeah, and this is also thermophilic rotavirus, so it is very difficult to decontaminate it. And you had the doctor or the head at the doctor at the hospital at Mahabaleshwar government hospital, Dr. Deshmukh, he told me that there is a lot of food poisoning, which is to do with Salmonella bacteria. Of course, that was not only to do with the horses, it's also got to do with the food. But that is not the concern in this case study. So the solution strategies were these. First of all, the separation of water from the tourist interfacing. That was very important. Collection of equine waste and processing it into pellets or biomethanation for energy. Starting an equine training center so that the horse owners do not lose incomes and have a regular income through a training center, which can cater to the local population, Mahabaleshwar, which is, some of them are very well off and would like to train with horses. There's even a polo ground there. Promote other activities like biodiversity parks, forest trails, sightseeing. I remember when I went to Mahabaleshwar, when in my childhood, I didn't see horses at the lake. We would go and walk, we would trek, we would go to the various points and look at the beauty of nature. So I don't know why we have got all the people come at the beginning, at the entry of Mahabaleshwar. The whole thing is packed and jam-packed with cars, with traffic. People are doing the horse riding. People are doing the boating. And you had, now thankfully that has been removed by the collector, but you had this whole number of shops on the left which were giving strawberry strawberry and cream and all of that with water that was taken from Venna Lake, because there is no tap there. So there was, when we was living, living close to Venna Lake, we were there for quite a long time. So when the people were coming in, they used to say, "Oh, my stomach is paining." I said, "What did you do?" We ate at the strawberry, we ate strawberry and cream. So, or ice cream over there. So the strategies that was first of all to separate the water, but also the equine waste had to be collected, but also to shift the people, that's the horse owners, to the polo ground, which is towards the back and away from the water, and to promote leisure activities of horse training so that they do not lose any income. And to see that schools and colleges also get into the equestrian training center. And the horse owners community, the business community within Mahabaleshwar also wanted to interact with the horse owners and to help out with solving the problem. So this was the water treatment plant. It was terrible when we went there. For 9 years, it had not been cleaned or serviced for 9 years. And that is why the high contamination. So we started, because of us going to the media with the work, with the backing of the collector. Yeah, the collector was also with us. The CEO also was with us. We started the restoration first of the water treatment plant. The stirrer was not working. We fixed that. And then we put a six-layer water treatment. We did not go for any RO or any other treatment, UV treatment. We went for what is called, it is quite organic. We went for the 5 layers, uh, sorry, which ends with, it start with pebbles which are as big as 15 millimeters. And then you have goes slowly down, the water filters through. Then the last is the sand. And sand has the quality of creating a biofilm. The biofilm is rich in good bacteria. And so when pathogens enter it, they are not able to go through. And it, however, because we didn't use any biocultures, took us around. So January we started the work. January, February, every month I would go and pick up the water, and it would not come. It would always come contaminated. But on May 31st, when we picked up the water, it came clean of bacteria. I had also given it to the National Virology, International Institute of Virology. We have it in Pune, and it came clean of both rotavirus and of bacteria of all coliforms. And this was a huge, that was a huge success. That from that day on, could and say that Mahabaleshwar is getting clean drinking water. But that is just the first point, mind you, because clean drinking water, but the other things also needed to. So this was the sample we gave. You can see no E. coli absent, no coliforms, Yeah. This was the 31st May we had collected. We gave it on the 1st June. On 4th, we got the results. So it was actually Parsure sir, Professor Parsure brought this project to us, and Dr. Ajit Ramanel was ready to finance it. So, and we had some other very good people, local people who helped with the financing. And this was my team, my students over here, Nikhil Atak, Vinit Dupare, Rohini, and we had one more student. This is where we were sitting with the hospitals. Actually, the rotavirus was discovered by Nikhil, my student. Sorry. He said, ma'am, I think there is rotavirus over here, which I knew then immediately that it had got to do with virus. Sorry. That's my present. I think I've gone over. We're done with the time. But yeah, any questions?
No, this is
Yes.
very much within our time range. No, not an issue. Just before we go ahead with question answers, Amit, would you like to make the announcement?
Yes. Hello, everyone. So we have this is an announcement of an upcoming event that we are participating in. So I'll be very brief. It's Wildlife Mela event, which is on 2nd and 3rd October at Shubharamba Lodge.
Little louder.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is Wildlife Mela event on 2nd and 3rd October, and this is, timing is 4 to 5 p.m. So one thing is Pune River Revival, and actually the people who are working on the rivers and the organizations, various informal, formal groups, they will be there to represent the whole, case of river. And we already know there is lot of things are going on. The flood zones are to be remapped. There is a SIA clearance, environmental clearance that has come up, which has stunned all of us. So we want to put up the information to the people who would be visiting this Mela. It's a combination of various organizations working on various environmental fronts, along with certain lifestyle and certain other products kind of thing that people will be exhibiting and selling there. But one thing from organizers' side is that they haven't charged anyone as such, not only organizations, but also people who are trying to present their work there, either for selling or for exhibition purpose. So it's a very noble cause that they had. They wanted people to come and see and enjoy the whole day. So two things. One, it's an invitation for everyone to visit and bring on people on 2nd and 3rd October. And lastly, we need a lot of volunteers with us. We will be arranging a meet perhaps tomorrow. Let me put that upon group. But we also need people to help us out. Very quickly, this part is our area where, so there is an open lawn where we will be setting up the stall. So yeah, that's all. That's the information I wanted to pass on. Thank you.
Yeah, I see one question here from Shubham.
Yeah.
It
There are two
says-
questions, Preeti.
Yeah.
One is from Shubham, that on the similar lines, can we do it on Mathiran,
Yes,
another
yes,
hill
certain-
station?
Yeah, certainly. Mathiran, we
Yeah.
can do it. But if there's the proximity is one, when two things are required. One is the drinking water close to the equine waste, then that's a problem. But if they're separate, that is not a problem. Two, if the equine waste is collected, that is the best thing to do, because then you do not have the viruses going on. And you also have a biomethanation, which gives you energy. But this can also be done within Pune, not for the drinking water, but like Mula, Mutha, and the rivers which are ailing. A similar, there is I'm sure you all probably know her too, Saili Joshi, who heads SERI. So, and she's a macrobiologist. So, she has actually taken it over from her parents, everybody. And from 60s, 70s, there have been natural ways of contaminating entire rivers. This Udaipur, I was talking about Udaipur Lake, was terrible in 70s. All this was cleaned up in organic manner with just rejuvenating the river's own. So these are all living beings. They have their own ways of getting better. Even when the contamination, when we put in contamination into the water, the nature works on it and comes up with solutions. You won't believe this, but we have to allow it to happen. So this can be done anywhere. Mathiran equine waste is just an example, but we can find the sources for even other non-zoonotic origin, even chemicals, and there are ways to decontaminate. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. Absolutely, Preeti. Very well explained and very well answered. There is another question from Mangesh Upadhyay, that can we get this full study presentation on the WhatsApp or anyway?
Yeah.
Do you share that
I can share the
to
presentation.
us, which can be shared on the group at a later stage?
Yeah.
You can create a PDF with
Yes.
yeah.
Immediately I can. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, we are
the
going
paper,
to.
I would have even shared the paper, but the paper is in the process of peer review for a foreign journal. It was I read this paper. I was invited to Athens in Greece for reading out a paper, and I chose this one. Yeah, because it's so relevant.
Great.
Yeah, it was an environment conference, 3-day conference. So that it is gone for peer review test, but when it comes out, even the paper will be available to you all. The presentation immediately. No worries.
That will be great, Preeti. I suppose there are no other questions. I'm just going through, but the presentation was so self-explanatory. I think Nishad has raised a hand.
Okay.
So I allow Nishad to ask the question.
Yeah, you spoke about dried equine waste, which emits bacteria and
which rises into the air and causes
in the air.
Yeah.
So my question was, these polluted rivers like Mula, Mutha, and all others, do they emit bacteria and viruses into the air?
At the moment, they are ailing heavily with the bacteria and viruses. They are ailing.
So
there's a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah. Continue.
So people working along the river or for the river should take care that they
are not exposed to it. Yes. Especially, I said, if you see, pollution causes two things. One is a huge amount of mosquitoes. When you see these case studies that I'm talking about, say Udaipur or Rajasthan or anywhere, when you see a lot of mosquitoes, you know your water is polluted heavily. Yeah. Presence of hyacinth is one that also causes, but when the pollution is high in water, mosquitoes are plenty. And I think we saw something like that on our river before the rains came, right? There was this huge amounts of mosquitoes that were there, and we are seeing now dengue and chikungunya and all that. Yeah. So yes, shows pollution, and they need to be careful. Yes, definitely.
So is there any way, sorry, can I continue?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Is there any way we can analyze the air along the river for these pollutants or
Yes, it
bacteria,
can be done.
viruses, whatever it is?
It can be done. For air also, water also. Both can be analyzed. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Preeti, I just have a concern actually more than a question. You know, if our water is contaminated and if as these people, all these resorts and restaurants are very prone to give us and the bottled water.
Yeah.
And if this water is contaminated at tourist place and even in Pune,
Yeah.
I'm really worried that, you know, that will really, people would want to go in for this plastic bottled water.
Yes.
And that is actually adding further to our problems. So I'm just
Yes.
wondering how we, you know, make sure that the contamination is reduced and people go in for tap water.
Yeah. So in case of Mahabaleshwar, now the tap water at least is safe. That is there. But in your own house, just pick up. It's a very easy thing to do. No rocket science. You just take your Bisleri water bottle or Bisleri water bottles because you require 1 liter at least for the check. Yeah, and it should be a new one. And empty the drink of whatever, but you fill it up with your tap water. Tape it. Put the date and time on it. Give it for analysis to the lab. You will know. Yeah, if you're talking about your own house. In case of Mahabaleshwar, now the drinking water is okay. In case of bottled water, yes, it is. You wouldn't know which of it is contaminated and which. There's no way you can find out. And I think there have been cases where the water has been contaminated and people have fallen in. But actually, best to just take water from your own house and carry it along with you wherever you go. Yeah. We all felt sick,
So
you know,
you're saying,
Mahabaleshwar. All of us
you're
felt sick.
saying that it is safer to have the water, the tap water than the bottled water because the bottled water could also be contaminated.
Yes, that could be
And
actually
you won't
more
know.
contaminated. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And
So I think,
touch wood in Pune, and I'm talking about from my mama's time, you know, from my maternal uncle's time. We are talking about 1960s. From then on, we have been touch wood. We should not change. The drinking water treatment is very good in Pune. So that's how my tap water shows the same thing as my filter is both UV and RO. But when I saw that both the waters are the same, there is no E. coli and there's no coliform. It's wonderful to see.
so basically
Not all places have that.
when we publish this, we always publish this webinar recording. I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that we say in that Mahabaleshwar water is now free from contamination,
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
So that people don't go to Mahabaleshwar and try to buy bottled water.
Yes.
And number two, we will say that the bottled water is also not contamination free. So there
Yeah.
is no guarantee.
Be careful. Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah, so there are other questions we have to quickly go through. One is, I don't know the name because it's showing production animation studios. What measures can Mahabaleshwar water treatment take to reduce this problem? I think you have already answered because
Yeah.
you showed the organic way of filtration with
Yes,
the layers.
yes.
So
Yes.
that
And actually, because we didn't use any biocultures, it took a little bit of time for it to create the biofilm and the water to get decontaminated, right? But
Right.
if you look at the decontamination here, it's water treatment plant is giving the drinking water, fine. But we still have contamination in the lake. So you hardly see any birds out there, yeah? And usually a water body has a lot of birds, right? You don't see much birds there. And
Correct.
then, yeah, you don't see many birds there. And then you have the groundwater. You have, once your water treatment plant has been fixed, okay, the water going to the residential areas is fixed, to the hotels, schools, all that has been cleaned. But you still have groundwater contamination. you still have contamination at the Verna Lake, though now the waste completely is being collected and is being they are taking away, and we need to move the horses. Now, how is it going to decontaminate there? Over years, if we are able to not allow any waste to go into the water, automatically the dose, because the dose is reducing and the dose is zero, that is of the viruses going into the water, it rejuvenates and it becomes decontaminated. Groundwater also takes a few years for all the contamination to go. Yeah, that is how it works.
Yeah, I think you have also already answered the questions which were raised here, that we still see the horses
Priti is
along the
also-
lake, which you have
Yeah.
already mentioned, but there
Yes,
was
it was,
a
yes.
hand raised by Mona, if she is around, if she can ask her question.
Yes, Mona.
Mona?
Yeah, actually, I looked at the chat and the same questions are posed by others.
Yeah.
So I'm also a resident of this area.
Yeah.
And the horses still continue. So,
Yes, we've been
to
sort of
be near
fighting
the
that,
lake,
Mona. Yeah.
pardon?
We've been sort of fighting that. And
Mhm.
actually, initially, you won't believe it, because when it came, it was very strong, right? So the CEO had come very hard down on removing the horses. Now, the problem over there is bifold, actually. We sat with the horse owners and we said this is happening, and they were also quite disturbed that something like that is happening. That would have been the right point to move them to a place which the CEO had found out. He had found a place a little away from the lake, where they will not miss out too much on the incoming crowd. I do not know why the shift did not happen. So now, okay, you're cleaning the waste and you're taking, but it's not possible to 100% take out the waste, right?
No.
So they need to move, and they are illegally parked there, because this is MJ plant, the water plant, our Maharashtra Jal Pradikaran. It belongs to them. They're illegally occupying it. MJP is also, the Maharashtra Jal Pradikaran is also has been fighting. In High Court also, the order has been passed against it. It has been difficult to move them,
Yeah.
though. It has been difficult.
Yeah.
They have some sort of political backing.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
unfortunately, if we just increase their awareness, I've been trying to take people from here, from the equestrian centers in Pune. We have a very good equestrian center in Talegaon. So I had asked that person to come along to be able to let us fix a training center for these guys, so they will move away from the water, and they also will get a higher amount of the income will be more sustained. Yeah, I had talked about Vamitichi plant, so we can have a community gas for the horse owners. All this, we spun out all these very good ideas, and the business community was ready to engage, but somehow it got nixed. I don't know at what point they stopped, and it continued, and they're still occupying.
That is, yeah.
Yeah,
Panchgani
the-
Tableland had the same problem. It's not easy. Once they are entrenched, they're very difficult.
Yes,
Becomes
very
a issue, political and social, and the
Yes.
community. Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes,
Not
and as economists, we do not want anybody to suffer. So we are looking at the
Yeah.
good. I mean, we are looking at the good. But if you will follow us, if you will be ready to follow us, we can show you a good way out. In Panchgani, though, Mona, the good thing is that their horses are away from the water and from the
Yeah.
city. Yeah. So you
No,
don't have
I'm
people
talking.
flying along the roads and all, right? In
Yes.
Mahabaleshwar, they are on the roads, and they are on the water pipes that go from Wilson Point up and down. And the valves of the water pipes, they open at points, and so there is very big likelihood of this equine waste going in, and that's why also the water treatment plant also was not clean for 9 years. But because of this interfacing, also there was possibility of the contamination.
Yeah, in Panchgani on the tableland, the issue was not to do with water contamination. It was to do with the pathar being affected. But that is also, well, I got your point. Appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. There is a peculiar comment, Priti, from Mangesh Upadhyay. The honeybees also have are vanished from
Yes,
Mahabaleshwar.
yes.
And
Yes.
there's one question from Shubham.
Yeah.
So can it be said that the BOD or the biological oxygen demand is much low now into the water bodies? I didn't get the question, but
Yeah, we can just pull out the presentation.
yeah. So
Take the latest
so
one.
after the latest BOD is
I have
what we
not included it in this, but we had a BOD COD which was okay. That was not a problem. I had done
Okay.
a different. That
So
doesn't seem to be
okay.
So over here. But I do have the BOD COD also. That was not a problem. That
Okay.
was not.
There is one question which you have already answered, but you
Yeah.
kindly repeat again to ensure we can avoid drinking contaminated water. So will using RO filter will help?
Yes, RO filter is good as long as you are servicing it every at least 6 months. Yeah, it usually goes 3 times in a year. That's the ideal now. So I'll tell you what happened in another place. So this was an equestrian center, and it was outside the precincts of the city. So it was in the Panchayat area, and I was called into because their well water was contaminated, and they thought the contamination was due to a nala which was going close to the well, and it was. However, their drinking water well had a huge RO plant. And when I looked at the contaminated, when I was analyzing that water, I also got the drinking water to be analyzed because they said, no, we have an RO, no problem with the drinking water. And I said, if it's an equestrian center, in my mind, I was saying, if it's an equestrian center, we need to check the drinking water. And the RO water was also contaminated with E. coli. Yeah. So probably also would have had viruses. So they used to have this vomiting, and they used to have vomiting and diarrhea amongst the students who would come to learn. So I knew that that was a problem. Yeah. So then when I told them your drinking water is, they couldn't believe that their drinking water is contaminated. He said, what could be the problem? And you've got RO. I said, you check out your film. So the RO has got a film, for the water to get filtered. That was broken. I said that probably is broken. That is why your RO water is contaminated, and that's what came out to be. It was broken. So I said every 3-4 months you need to be checking the getting it serviced because it's an equestrian center. Very much important. Have I answered you? I hope I've answered.
Yes, you have absolutely very well answered. We will take the last question by Nishad, and I think it's time for us to conclude the session, but it has been really, really wonderful. Very informative and very interesting session where people are, given the lot of dimensions about the water, which is classic thing. So Nishad, over to you, and we will conclude after your question.
Yeah, thank you. The question is about STP. You showed that you cleaned the STP, and how effective is the STP in removing bacteria and viruses?
This is the sorry. Continue.
Yeah, please.
Continue. Please.
Yeah, and the aeration process in STP, does it make the air around it filled with the pollutants and viruses and bacteria of the polluted?
Yeah, if it's rivers like Mulamutta, yes, yeah, because they are heavily contaminated. But at Mahabaleshwar, that contamination isn't much, so that was not a problem. And the aeration, the way the government treatment plants are, a lot of aeration is done. So it was a huge amount of three ways that is aerated the water. So that is not a problem. In Mahabaleshwar, at least it's not a problem. But if you look at Mulamutta, yes, heavily contaminated. So an aeration, it would actually be releasing pollutants in the air. we are human stress of industry, no? Textile industry. That is the worst, the most hazardous. And then we have oil in a lot of oil. We have a lot of foam coming up in various parts. Indira is having this so much of foam. This is all industrial.
Yeah, so we should watch out what sort of STP they're putting up on Mula Mutha. Because if it
Yes.
is the aeration based STPs, it is going to pollute the air itself.
Yes. Best thing actually is to, Nishad, is to have eco STPs, and we have got wonderful organizations within Pune who have been doing it for entire India and doing it successfully, but we are not using them in Pune. So there is it's called sand filters. They are, they are like sandbars that are put into the river. That is what was done in Himachal, in hundreds of places, I think, in India. So this bars are put. So sand is one of the best ways to film out any pollution whatsoever. So it creates natural biofilms which are very healthy, filled with healthy bacteria. So that's how even your industrial waste and your natural, now, mind you, Neeri, if you go to Neeri, which is the apex body of India, the environmental engineering, they will say that doesn't work, but it's not true. It works. It really does work. I've tested the water. It is clean.
Wow. Thank you, Preeti. It was really very insightful, and I would say that for many people, it has really changed their outlook, how they look at this whole water contamination and STPs and pretty much anything related to drinking water.
Yes.
I'm just going to quickly conclude this. If this webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, you can go to YouTube and search for Pune River Revival. It will be uploaded there. So if you want to share it with your family, friends, and anybody, please do so, because this is very important. And if you have missed any of our previous webinars, they are also there on our YouTube channel. This is very important. You can follow us on Twitter, our Instagram, or Facebook, so that you can get to know about such interesting webinars and our other activities. Thank you, and hereby I conclude
Thank
this.
you, Prajakta, for doing such an awesome job of organizing the whole thing.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Hi, Shailaja.
Thanks, Priti. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the lovely session.
It was wonderful.
Thanks all. Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I'm sending you to you, Prajakta. Yeah, I'm sending you
Sure, yes.
Prajakta.
Yes, please do.